the city. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with star of Go Go for the Gold Season 2, go-go dancer, Mr. Hollywood Burlesque from 2015 to 2019, Kirby Labrea, who can be seen at Go Go for the Gold viewing parties Wednesdays at 8 p.m. at Mickey's WeHo. How you doing today, Sexy?
I'm doing great. How about you, Prince?
I'm doing great. Work.
Yes.
So where are you originally from?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, so I'm a Valley boy.
Wow, so you're probably one of the rare people who is actually originally from LA who
That's what I keep hearing.
yeah. So work. I am from Florida, unfortunately.
Lots to happen there, though.
Yeah. I'm still unfortunately in my small town, so like I grew up in South Florida. That's where I'm at now. I lived in Orlando for 4 years and then ended up having to move back here because of like some shit with an apartment. But
Mm,
yeah, yay fun! It's fun
definitely.
living at home. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, believe me, I know the struggle. I've been there. But yeah, I want to come to Florida so bad because there are so many boylesque shows out there that it just seems like I can just bring what I've got and just plug it in to so much that's going on there. Like I want to perform so bad in Florida.
I would say try and do it sooner rather than later because those shows are probably going to go at some point.
Right.
With the way the
Yeah,
government
it's like
wants to do things, yeah.
this is like their peak right now. I was even like before 2020, I feel like between 2016 and 2020, I was like finding out about so many boylesque performers and like queer performers and all these like gender non-conforming like performances in Florida. And it was just so surprising that, you know, something is happening so differently, at the same time.
Right. And it's honestly like I know well, I shouldn't say I know some of them. I know one. I've interviewed one and his name is Damian Lenore. He's actually performed
Yes.
out in LA not that long ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I met him last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know he's a sweetheart. I've interviewed him on here before. I love get here's the thing. I am someone who like when I started this podcast, I haven't been doing interviews for that long. I'm at about 6 months now. It's like I wanted to get people of all different types of entertainment on here.
hmm
And because it's like I'm a musician, but I didn't want to just like interview musicians because I feel like that make it boring at some point.
hmm Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do reach out to whoever I can and hope they're like Kirby and say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So what was it like for you growing up as a kid?
Well, funny enough, like falling into entertainment was just so natural because like dad's side of the family is literally like all entertainers, like three generations back, going back to my great grandmother. And my mom's side of the family is also like kind of intertwined in that, also not really musicians, but there are people who were entertainers and like lived entertaining or like lifestyles in the entertainment business. So that overlap was always just so natural and never really belittled. So whenever the desire came, it was always nurtured. Like for me, my siblings, it was always a very nurturing environment. So it was almost like just a matter of time, like when I would step into entertainment and like I'd have to, trying to find my identity was part of the manifestation, I guess. And like my brothers, they were recording artists, like R&B recording artists. So in a
Or
sense, I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to be something like that. I'm going to be a singer or something, in my head, that was what was going to happen. And as time went on, like dance became involved because I was like, oh, how am I going to be a singer if I can't dance? And then dance came into my life and basically kind of took over and consumed me. And after that, I feel like my singing got nurtured because of dance. And, I started to become this whole just being of entertainment passion. You know, and that's kind of, I guess, how it evolves.
Oh, I thought when you said like you thought you were gonna be a singer, and I thought the next day was gonna be, and then I heard myself sing and realized I couldn't hit a note. Like,
No. Funny enough, like I feel like singing has always been something natural and almost like I took it for granted for a very long time. Like just that, yeah, I have the singing voice because my brother's my dad. It was just always, that thing. But I never really like enjoyed my voice until way later, I guess.
I kind of get that because I always say like I look at in terms of like me singing before I started doing drag, and then like me like as I just like over the years like started performing, and it's like I didn't start like loving my voice until probably like 2-3 years ago. And it's
Mm.
crazy because I've been singing all my life, but it's like I didn't have the like thing. It's like what I've said to people before. It's like I've always felt like I sang too bright, and now that I feel like I've developed the how do I put this? I went to the Christina Aguilera School of Singing, and that's how I like
Uh-huh.
taught myself how to do like the vocal runs and perfect them and everything. And like that's where I did it, and like through just getting so I'm like a singer songwriter. So even like through like writing music, I feel like that's just
Mhm.
like I just learned to love
Yeah, like
my voice.
to find your expression, like your voice.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was it like for you coming out?
Very, I guess really, hmm, very interesting. It's so funny because like everyone who's watched me grow up would probably say like of course they knew I was gay and whatever, but it's like that notion is starting to like it. I don't know, like the more I live life, the more that starts to bother me a little bit because it's like even if you knew, I still had that i- internal journey, like no matter, like not to belittle that people were there for me and they like accepted me, but at the same time there was very much an internal struggle with me because um you know those internal battles with yourself can be very heavy. And even if like people are saying over and over again like no matter what, like we'll accept you or whatever, but it's like at the same time there's something with yourself that you have to get over also. And I feel like that took me a long time because like I didn't really in high school, I didn't have a lot of flings or anything like that. I didn't really find myself hooking up until the first time like my senior year in high school. And even that was just like it was like going to Narnia to like go to Sun Valley and hook up with whoever this dude was. And so just picture that, like, like feeling like I'm going to Narnia to like get some dick, and like now I got to put it away and never speak of it again. So it was like, think of something like that. And then I feel like when I got to college, I was ready to explore more, but at the same time, I was like scared because I was like, you know, somebody sees me, they're gonna say so, like thinking there's a secret that's out, like all of that. What felt very heavy until I guess I met somebody who it wasn't really a boyfriend, but someone I was like consistently hooking up with, and that gave me sort of a sense of freedom. Um, just because it felt like someone peeled back a layer and someone like saw me and I felt actually seen at that time. You know, I hate to be validated by a man, but but it is sort of like it felt like at that time something was awakened and peeled back and able to let me be a little bit free.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we don't want to be validated by men. I had that experience as well. I'll talk about it a little bit later. It has to deal with body image. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, so it's like, I totally get that. To my coming out, as I say, in some ways, I was fortunate. I would say fortunate, yeah, unfortunate. So fortunate that I only had to come out to one parent because my mom died 4 months before I came out. So it's like I only had to come out to one parent, which made it a little
Mm-hmm.
bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
But
Wow.
yeah, and I have an older sister who had to come out too. The
Mm,
unfortunate part was I came out to a youth minister.
mm.
Mistake.
Huh. Oh no.
Because I told him about this like performance idea I had with a knife and how I'd like practiced it. It just doing like dramatic stuff. So I told him about this. He left the room. He came back in about 10 minutes later, said, "You have one of two options. Either you're coming with me or I'm calling the cops."
Oh my, what?
So I went with him to get a psych eval. I passed it. I passed it. He made it seem like I was lying, and as a result, I got
Oh
locked.
no.
I got locked in a mental institution for 64 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
What on earth? I can't believe that.
yeah. And as I pointed this out to somebody when I got out, after I had like reacclimated back into society, he had a meeting with me with this priest who all of a sudden they wanted to set me up with a counselor who wanted to pray the gay away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was one of those things where I'm like, that started my arc out of religion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because as I say, I try not to judge believers now. I am not one, but I try not to judge people who are. Work,
Mm-hmm.
live your life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
as a, yeah,
I'm sorry.
thank you. It made me stronger. As I say, all the like shit that has happened to me in my life, and I don't know, maybe there's stuff that's happened to you. It's like it makes you stronger, even though you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go through it. You literally just like are like, why did I have to go through it?
Mm-hmm.
When you come out on the other side, you're like, oh,
That's why.
yeah, oh, that's why. Hand me whatever the fuck you want. I can fucking handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
So
wow.
yeah, that's why, as I always say to people who like, it's like it's great you want to perform in Florida. Visiting here, I would say, no problem. Great. Nobody moved to Florida. Nobody, like literally, nobody moved to Florida. If you are queer, stay as far away from Florida as you fucking can. Like,
Right. It's like, where is the timeshare bubble?
so,
Goodness. Yeah.
so yeah. So, what was it like for you the first time you performed?
Um. Ooh, shoot. We have to do some dissecting. Performed like strippy or performed just in general?
Let's do both. Why not?
Um. Okay. Um. Well, I think I was 10 when I first ever performed, like got on stage and sang. And I was probably being super dramatic because I was like 10 years old at this time. And already for me and my family, that was late because my brothers had been singing and wailing at every family party since they were 5. And they're 5 years older than me. So I was like, oh, I'm already about to be, all types of evaluated and stuff by my family, which they didn't. It's like, obviously it was in my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember being nervous, and it was like everybody was like about to, see what I could do when I was 10, and I got to sing this song in our Black History Month concert, which was the song was "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which is known as the Black National Anthem. And so I remember like my mom just like loving that I wanted to sing that, but also it was like important to me to sing that because my great aunt who had just like passed away at that time, like that was something that it was just like that was her song. She loved that song, and so it was kind of like for her. And
Yeah.
also, yeah, and it was just like I didn't know any other way to manifest something like that being important to me. And it was just like at 10 years old, I was like, I want to sing this song. And I told the music teacher, and I was like, this is the Black National Anthem if you didn't know it, because he's a white guy, obviously. So and he put me on stage to sing it, and it was like kind of a big deal at school. Everybody found out I could sing, and it was like this, that, and the other. And that was like basically that kind of started everything when I was 10. And then a couple years after that, it was just like things were bubbling inside. Like I didn't really take dance classes or anything. I took choir because that just seemed like the easy way to get some kind of expression out.
Yeah.
And so did choir in middle school. Then I got to high school, and freshman year I didn't do anything, like no choir, no dance or anything. And then sophomore year I decided to do dance because I was like seeing my brothers like rehearse and dance all the time, and it was just like, whoa, like where does this come from? Where do you get these moves from? Like choreography, all that stuff like fascinated me. And so I decided to enroll in the dance class at my high school. And that turned into something that was so crazy because I was thinking we're going to have this dance teacher who had been at the school for a couple years.
Yeah.
Then when I enroll in the class, literally the same day the teacher quits. And so I'm
Ooh.
like, what does this mean? I still want to take the class. And so they go through this whole like months of like trying to find a permanent teacher, but at the same time I was getting exposed to like 3 different professional dancers styles of teaching. And so even though it was kind of a crazy experience, I still got like very good exposure to like a very good first exposure to dance and like vocabulary. And it was just like literally I got consumed in dance, and it changed everything from there. And I feel like even in high school, it was like I was always daydreaming about like breakaways and like, reveals and stuff, but never knowing what. But if I'm a stripper, people won't take me seriously, and that's a stripper, and like, all that types of back and forth mentally. And eventually, this is what I'm doing.
Work. I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, I will say in terms of the vocal part, I totally get that. I was also the choir kid through middle school and high school, literally only because, as I said, if there was like show choir glee club, I would have rather done that because I,
Hmm.
I am the one who's like, why are we singing these songs like from the 1400s? Like, can't can we sing shit that's like more modern?
Yeah. Seriously, I and my last 2 years of high school were when Glee came out, so it was like you really thought you were doing something being in choir at that time, believe.
Oh, you're less work.
Yeah.
See, this is the point of how some people say you can't tell black people's ages. I thought Kirby was younger than me. Turns out Kirby's older than me.
Yeah. Dirty 30, Birdie.
I literally just turned 29 yesterday. So like,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. So yeah, so my first time performing, I guess I'll do before I started drag and like after. So I would say the first time I didn't do much like solo performing, even though I always knew I was destined to be an artist. I was the person who like or be a musician because I was always whenever we had time in the choir class, I would be in the back like corner with my
Mm.
friend like singing him this new song that I wrote and
Extracurriculars.
yeah. And as I said, didn't do much. And then when I started performing in drag, as I say, being a singer, I actually have one of the like weird drag weird drag experiences because I started doing drag at open mic nights.
Oh.
So it's like being a singer who performed electronic music, which is primarily what I write,
Mm-hmm.
going before all these acoustic acts.
Mm.
Some people either loved me or they hated me, but I feel like that's how it is with like all forms of entertainers. It's either like you love it or you hate it. There's never
Yeah.
like there's never like a middle ground because I wasn't how do I put this? I wasn't a safe artist. I
Mm.
still am not a safe artist, and I kind of love that about myself. I love how I'm not like the cookie cutter clean like Taylor Swift artist. Like no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm edgy.
Yeah.
Like one of my vocal inspirations truly is like Lady Gaga. Love her,
Yes.
and like I identify with that. So like that was so as I
Ooh.
say, what doing open mics. I did open mics in karaoke. I did that like I used to do 2 shows in one night. I did that for five
Oh,
months, and then 5 months, and then like I figured I'm like I gotta get rid of one of these because like I can't be doing this
wow.
every because I would be like leaving my house at 7:30 and not getting home until like 12:30 at night. So it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is not no.
It's a marathon.
Yeah.
Wow.
So so eventually I just started performing in queer places and now being that I'm in a small town, like I don't do gigs much. Like
Mm.
probably in the last year I performed 2 times. Like
Mm.
just
Yeah.
sad part of living at home. So
It happens. I
yeah,
know. Believe me, like speaking of living at home and being a queer artist, that is like even though my mom was like super supportive of just me being queer in general, the burlesque thing actually was a huge weight on mine and my mom's relationship. Like when that came into the mix and when it became like central to my life, it like caused a huge rift in mine and my mom's relationship. She like had this whole idea that I was like cheapening myself and like that sort of thing. Very trying to be protective, but at the same time, it it came at me in this way like, are you trying to tell me not to celebrate what I've just found in myself? I had to
right.
relate it to her like that. Like, no matter, you know, how you're offended, you must see what I'm doing to people, what I'm doing for people that is beyond that. It's like way more important than that. I'm not just showing my grundle for no reason. Like, damn it. So, yeah, that was like a huge um obstacle for me and my mom personally, and it took a lot to make her understand like it's more than me just like showing my ass and slapping my ass. Like I'm fully entertaining people and like kind of changing people's perspectives, and that's what I'm really here to do with this, make them pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that cuz like I will say like watching your stuff like, you're so good. Like, I will admit, Kirby's my pick to win season 2. Like, definitely, because there's some people who see Rico and they're like, "Oh, it's time for a white person." I'm like, no, let's have Kirby win this season, and then season 3, y'all put Prince Joshua on, and he can win then. Like,
oh my god, that's funny.
yeah, I do. I love Prince
Yeah,
Joshua.
he's good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes. But yeah, I'm all about just the queer liberation. I feel like it also like I feel like I'm so steadfast in trying to be in this celebration of queer liberation just because even when I started Boylesque, I didn't even know if I wanted to be like, you know, like an out queer artist. I didn't
Right.
know how that was going to be. I didn't know if I would be able to get gigs, if I was like going to be a male stripper and what kind of gigs I would get. And it was so funny. But then I just started to realize, like, why am I going to go into another internal transformation when I've already done this external one, so now I have to do
Yeah.
an internal one and change what that is. And so it just came a point where I was like, fuck this. Like, I love being gay, and I don't even want to make myself think for a second that I don't, and just manifest that in any way that I can. And I feel like since that sort of overcoming that hurdle, it's just like I want to just get gayer and gayer.
Yeah, because there's so much. I would say probably definitely to like, especially when we come. Well, for some people, not for all. Like, I feel like at the time that like we were coming out, the whole like femme gay thing wasn't really like acceptable as it is now.
Right. True. And I feel like I've always been sort of a femme-centric type of person. And it always seemed like at that high school, college time, it was like a weird cusp time where it was like people were trying to, open it up for that.
Yeah.
And it was like a lot of people like rebelling against those tropes of like anti-feminists, because I even remember going to the club and seeing one guy who I probably haven't seen him since then, but he was like this twink club promoter in this
Yeah.
total gender non-conforming outfit, like dressed like a fawn or something, but like a nightclub version. And I was just like, I was 18 and I was like, I'd never seen anything like that. And I was just like, what is this? Like, what is he doing? And he
Yeah.
was just there, like, checking people into the line. And so it's like, yeah, like stuff like that really was the stuff that was just opening the curtain for stuff that is like the sensation now that people are acting like it's brand new.
Totally. I will say, just going back to this week's episode. So I'm gonna ask, like, obviously, yes, your outfit that you wore when you performed was an ode to Wonder Woman, obviously, but was it also kind of an ode to Tandy Amon Dupree?
Uh, I don't know if I even know that.
Oh God. Okay. So
Enlighten
obviously
me.
not. Okay, so do you watch Drag Race?
Not consistently, not
Okay, got
not
it.
the last several seasons,
Okay,
honestly.
so all right, work. So anyway, what I was asking was the reason why I thought that. So Tandy Amon Dupree is a drag queen from Atlanta. She had like this viral clip where she famously wore a Wonder Woman outfit and performed the song "I Need a Hero." And she like famously like performed the song where she was like up in the ceiling and then she like dropped down like
Oh yes,
under the
this
gun.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. That's why I was
yeah.
asking. Yeah.
That is funny. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I just absolutely love Wonder Woman. Like, since that new movie came out,
Yeah.
it's like, it's just everything to me. Like, even just the scene where she steps out on the battlefield, I feel like is the theme song of my life. And what I visualize anytime I put the costume on, it's like that scene, like taking the cape off, showing my bracelets. Like, that is like what it feels to me.
Work. So,
Yeah.
have you ever felt judged being a black queer performer?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially in LA throughout the years, it is crazy. Like even stepping into primarily black spaces is something I've had to like decondition myself to step in apologetically because I feel like in like the automatic thing is to like make an apologetic demeanor so that someone doesn't have a problem with me. And I feel like I've had to decondition that process in myself because I have nothing to apologize for. You know, it's like if they're about to try and create a problem with me just because I'm coming in and not being challenged, I guess, in my aesthetic,
Yeah.
people really do have problems with that. And it like frightens people, maybe it intimidates people. But yeah, like people see a demeanor like that and tend to cast judgments before even an interaction takes place. So I have encountered that quite a bit in not so much like black queer spaces, but majority black spaces, sometimes queer spaces that lack other black people. Um, a lot of times I get to the feeling as if like I'm a novelty. Like I wear heels quite a bit when I go out. So a lot of time or like, you know, tight pants, short shirts, crop tops, whatever. And
Or
so people, you know, start to do this thing where it's like, oh, a novelty. This is cute. Blah, you're cute. It's like becomes that thing instead of just like, oh, you're beautiful. I'm moving on. It like it always is like, you're a novelty. Oh my God. Like that is where I get to be like, okay.
yeah, it's one of those things where like you're talking about like people like going up to you, touching you, like, oh my god. It's like
Yeah.
that. So it's like, yes, live for somebody. Unless they're asking you to or unless they give you permission, keep your hands off. Like,
Yeah.
no touching
Yeah.
people.
Oh my God. And pivotal point, actually, I was just thinking about this the other day. You know how when people on Instagram, if they're making like a twerking video, if they're like shaking their butt, and then someone's random hand just reaches in and starts slapping their butt like offbeat and can't even hit it on the. I fucking hate that. I fucking hate that. Like, if they're shaking their ass to camera,
Yeah. It's like, don't touch people.
shit.
I made this point everywhere because I am the person who one time I was performing and I had somebody like I was just like sitting among people and I had like my wig snatched. Shit. Uh oh. Damn. Okay. Shit. One second. Let's see if I can get Kirby back. Okay. Okay. What's going on? Damn. Shoot. Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so for those of you who are listening and watching, apparently Kirby's phone died, so I guess I am literally trying to think of what to do. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's like all good. I was like I
I
did
was just
explain.
mid rant.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh, about like sitting, like performing. I am someone who like I was sitting in the bar one time and I actually had my wig snatched by somebody. But I was
Like
just like,
just by a mortal.
yeah, just
Oh
like
my gosh.
flat out like, and I'm like, they're lucky
Yeah,
they
like I cannot stand stuff like that. Like what do you think?
they're lucky they got me in a good mood because if not, I would have taken my shoe off and beat the shit out of them. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Like and I feel like the thing with like the people as soon as they see someone start moving their butt, it's like, oh, I gotta slap it. I'm like, oh
yeah,
my God. Like I seriously just don't get it. And I've now realized what my reaction is gonna be every time, and I've tried to analyze it to see why. But yeah, it's just like I'm gonna get so analytical about it, but it's like, yeah, it's like can't even hit the cheek on the beat. What are you trying to make me look at? You can't even smack the cheek on the beat. You're like missing it. Like,
yeah,
what is the point in me looking at you miss slap my ass? Like, damn it.
right,
Yeah,
totally. I get that.
bugs me.
So, what was it like being Mr. Hollywood Boylesque?
That was like one of the it's like I honestly it still feels like one of the most important things that's ever happened to me because I feel like when that happened I had only been doing burlesque for maybe 2 years. So I was like 22, was about to turn 22, and I was just like so proud because it just felt like finally I was going where I saw myself going, and I saw all these people like taking me seriously, then also it felt so good that like where I wanted to make an impression, it was being made. And so all these people that I remember when I won, it was so funny. Like the night of the festival, I had actually performed two acts. So I performed one solo act for the Mr. Hollywood category, and then I performed a duet act because I had submitted a duet act with a friend of mine. And so I was in the Puss in Boots outfit, which was like for our duet act. And so that's what I got crowned in like this Puss in Boots outfit. So it was like, I didn't mean for that to happen, but I was like, oh, this is like pretty cute that I'm like starting out as a kitten. And then like the next festival, I came back and was like in a lion number. So I was like, okay, yeah, I need these thematic elements to coincide. I love something like that. So yeah, it's like being Mr. Hollywood has always been just one of the things that's made the most happiest in my life, and like getting that scepter and crown.
Yes. It's always great to win things in queer spaces. Wouldn't know it myself because I've never won anything. But it's like I can totally get that. So yeah, because you've done a lot of stuff with burlesque. Like I saw you like post about it. So if I remember correctly, it's Gayest Galore, right? Isn't that like
Oh, Showboys Gaylore.
show? There you go. So is that like your show or like?
Yes. So that is like my show that I produce. It used to be a partner effort. Like I had a
Yeah,
partner who used to co-produce the show with me.
yeah,
But she's more focused like on her music career. So I've taken the Showboys show and it's like pretty
yeah,
much mine now. Yeah. So yeah, it's my creative baby. It's a boylesque review with you know, group numbers, solo numbers, little
yeah,
skits, things like that. A little queer variety show.
yeah. And I literally only know about that show because you featured two people that I've interviewed on here. One of whom's my friend. So you've featured Silver, who I love,
Yes.
and you've also featured my friend Phoenix, who like
I love Phoenix. Oh my gosh.
yeah, Phoenix is
Yes.
great.
Yeah, Phoenix is like my life. Honestly, he's just my life. I want him honestly in like every show that I do just cuz I feel like just it just is everything. It works.
Yeah, but that bitch is busy. I know that for a fact. Like
Yeah.
constantly like working.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Always
But
at events. Yeah.
well, I mean, that's how you get to know people. So
Hmm.
that'll probably be like the one thing. So I always say when I leave Florida, at some point, I'm probably gonna end up in LA just because, like, as everyone said, it's the inevitable. It's literally it's easier to interview y'all. You actually show up
Yeah.
because I've had plenty of people ghost me. When I told people that, they're like, "There's somebody who's like that's happened to you before." I'm like, "Yeah, of course it has. It's not something I like love, but it's happened."
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Oh Lord. I mean, yeah, it would definitely be a little easier to facilitate, probably.
Yeah, work. So, what made you audition for Go for the Gold?
um, well, it's funny. I think when the first season aired, I was probably working in WeHo at a sex shop right near the clubs. And I remember a couple times seeing some advertisements either like on the street, and I saw like one on the street and then I saw one on Instagram. And immediately visually I had caught the vibe of the show. Like I saw Brian in the heels, I saw
Yeah.
Rico in the splits, I saw like these
Yeah.
familiar faces. So I was like, oh my God, is this like a go-go competition show? And it must have been like after the first couple episodes aired. But I didn't watch any of the episodes yet. And then I think I helped Bryant at my shop. I remember selling him a top one day. And I remember like I had seen him at the Abbey because he go-goes there a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing him at the Abbey. And then I remembered seeing him on the poster. And I was like, oh, shoot, he's coming in for TV shit. And then months and months passed, and I started to see they were posting submission calls for season 2, and so I was like kind of hesitating. I was like really hesitant just because I was like, what am I gonna dress up in my living room, blah blah blah, what am I gonna put on for this submission? And actually some more time passed and I ended up going to the hospital. And when I had to get surgery, I had to get my gallbladder removed. And then the day that I came out was like the day to submit, or that was it. And I was like swollen from surgery. I was like all types of not trying to be on camera, but I had to. And I had to like put this flag up in my bedroom. So I had a background, like put a robe on, a corset on, big shiny hat, did my little talk, and then sent a little 1.5-minute reel from my Instagram that was like not me swollen.
Yeah.
And the next day he called me. Yeah.
Work.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was it. Like, and then yeah, after that, I wasn't as confident until he reached out to me after and said like your looks are incredible, and he kept saying something about like my looks like as if they needed them, like they needed to have the presence of like what I wear and me in it, and that felt so good because I was like, I knew it. I knew that what I had to offer was going to be something they didn't have yet.
Yeah, I mean, of course, your looks are amazing. Like, and like, who wouldn't want that? I mean, this is the thing. I like the fact that like at least this season, because like obviously I watched season 1. Like, I feel like they're like more accepting of people who aren't like traditional go-go's
Yeah,
this season than they were last season.
totally. Like, and yeah, definitely comparing this season to last season, there is so much more to the spectrum of go-go in this season. Like, it's really celebrates so many more flavors. And whereas the first season, it's like there were different flavors, but everybody was kind of sticking to more of a mold that they were used to. Which and even like post that first season, I see like so many of the boys like in their Instagrams and stuff more expressing themselves individually. And yeah, I really am happy that this season is like a really big flex on individuality.
And it's like obviously like this is like a show like much like with any queer show, it's going to get better and better as seasons go on because eventually they're going to get money because like
Yeah.
I know like it's pretty okay. I will say this. I'm going to say something that I know because I interviewed Rico. Kirby's not going to be able to confirm. Kirby's not going to be able to confirm what I say, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's very fast paced behind the scenes because they don't have a ton of time to shoot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, a lot of it is not, how it looks on the episode. Like some things are filmed twice, which makes it a little more like nerve-wracking in the moment, to have to like reconstruct whatever you just did. So yeah.
That's gotta be difficult. Like
Yeah. For me, it's a little easier because, like stage, burlesque, two numbers in a row. It's like I'm used to, I mean, not used to it, but it's like I'm equipped for such a position. But yeah, it's definitely like on set in a competition environment. Also, it is, yeah, nerve wracking.
What was I trying to say? As I say, everyone like I love the show because I like obviously love all talents. I've made the argument to somebody like in terms of me as a performer versus like other drag queens. I always say why more people should book me is because like it's like singing live. I can go a lot longer than those girls who are just doing death drops and shit.
Right.
They can do like one number. You can put me on. I could do a half an hour. Like that's just
Mm-hmm. Give you a freaking sweet.
yeah. In fact, I did that going back actually to my open mic days. So when I like started performing as Prince Electro Diamond, they were in between hosts. So like there are times where like they couldn't get anybody to go to the night, and I'm like, I was the bitch who like I'm like, look, keep me on. Like I'll do 5 songs. I don't care. Like
Hmm.
it's like
Yeah.
keep
We're
me
gonna keep the
on.
show going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that too. Like I just it's something I've wanted to incorporate for a while, but I just performed at Mickey's last week and got to do like, like a lip sync first number,
Yeah.
like 3 minute number. And then I really wanted to do this thing where it's like I strip first and then like I sing after, just to like, add a little pizzazz and little, you know, Christina Aguilera burlesque into it. So I was
Yes.
like, I was like, let me just sing a song and I have the track, like just give me the mic after. And it felt like so good. I love that style of performing also where it's just like, not expecting the next thing and
Yeah.
loving it, I guess. Yeah, it was fun.
Totally. So do people assume you're extremely slutty because you're a go-go dancer?
Um, I don't know actually. I honestly don't know. Probably not. I don't know actually. I don't know how to answer that because I think from my experience when people are like approaching me to like tip or something, I don't really get that vibe because it's almost like their vibe is a little like careful, like they're afraid. So it's like that to me doesn't make me think they think I'm slutty.
Yeah. I mean, I get that because like you're not just like on a box or like
Yeah.
you like need a whole like area which work. To me that's honestly like more interesting. Like
A domain.
a domain I've also been the person who's like
Hmm.
to the people who are just like, oh, they just want to see straight guys when they like perform and go dance. I'm like, that toxic masculinity shit is like needs to end at some point. It's like,
Seriously. Yes. That is a huge thing in the for me specifically, I've experienced this type of go-go politics. Because even I'm on this show, Go-Go for the Gold, but I am not working as a go-go as much as like the rest of the boys. Like my go-go is boylesque. Like that is,
yeah,
I'm doing that more than I'm like on a box, really. Because like in the WeHo circuit, it is, not so much a priority to get a queer dancer or someone who is in the community for the space, but it's more like whatever is the visual payoff more than anything. And then everything else becomes, um, you know, not as important. So that is something that it really does bother me just because it's like, why shouldn't I have a job dancing for our people before someone who's gonna have a problem with someone who's in the community? You know, because I've seen straight go-go dancers and how they act at the club, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
as like as someone who is queer, and maybe this is just me open-minded, I would rather see you, Silver, um, Christian Michael, Prince Joshua, Tokyo. I would rather see all of you perform for hours over some straight
Mhm.
guy who's just gonna shake their dick and like move all that, and it's like
Yeah.
it's boring.
Yeah, and it's almost like an entitled type of performance. Like that is the vibe I get from most straight. And I don't want to generalize either because I have met, non-homo go-go dancers who are friendly and, not rude and entertaining, but it just does something when you know they're straight at the same time. It's like I don't have anything against you, but it's like what am I really gonna do with this besides give you $1 and walk away? I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah. Go
So
politics.
yeah. So what's your dating life been like?
um uh like dead silence. Yeah, I mean, Grinder is is what I use, and the apps, and it's just, I haven't had any action really. That's all.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like with the show and everything. Also, I've been like not really trying to bring too many randos over, like that. So I don't know. I'm in a lurking period right now.
I mean, I would get that, especially with you being on a show now. You always have to think, I mean, granted, are you on like the biggest show ever? No. But like
Right.
are you on a show that people, especially queer people probably in WeHo know? Of course. So
Hmm.
you have to think, are they here cuz they want to be with me, or are they here cuz they want to be with Kirby Labrea, the person who's the star of this show?
Right. And I'm like, I feel like even that, it's like, it's so funny to even start to formulate thoughts in that way. Cause it's like, I don't even want to start gassing myself up in any way to start any kind of, mental thing like that. But it is like, it is funny to go somewhere in WeHo and just hear one person like mention it. And I'm like, oh, that was cool. They know me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I remember like seeing Heidi in Closet on Grinder. So I'm just like, okay, time to open my Grinder. Every time I go to WeHo, they gotta get a load.
Totally. So, I will say in terms of me, pretty much non-existent. I've been in like 2 relationships. So like
Mhm.
I was in one for a year with someone who actually is now trans. It's actually part of the reason we broke up because like is just I was the not supportive
Mhm.
person who's like I would have loved to have been the boyfriend who's like, whatever, babe, if you want to transition. I'm like, no. It's like it's like if you're transitioning, we're breaking up. Like,
Mhm.
because I am a how do I put it this way? I am a gay man who does not like topping, and it's like I've done it,
Mhm.
but it's like
Right.
if you're gonna go this route, I know how this is gonna end. Like,
I see. Yeah.
yeah,
How long ago was that
that would
relationship?
That would have been so. God, we broke up in 2017, so it's been a few years.
Mm. Mm.
And it's like now, especially living at home, it's like I don't want to like have to like date somebody while I'm living at home. That just does not sound like fun
Mhm.
to me.
Mhm. I can empathize. Yeah, I was my last, I don't know. I guess I've only had two relationships really myself also. One of them led to me being engaged actually, but
Wow.
unfortunately there was a very unfortunate situation. We were very much in love, but he was from Israel and tried to do like a he tried to like go back and come back, like go back to Israel and then come back so he could renew his visa, but they did not let him because he had worked against his visa, so like he basically got deported when they he tried to come back.
Oh.
And I was like waiting there at the airport for him for like hours, like on the other side, and they didn't let him through. And and then we stayed together, like we were gonna get married because like we wanted to be together, but it was just like, you know, that thing dropped like a ton of bricks and I had no money. I was like working on a dancer and part-time job
Yeah.
salary, so it was like I was trying to be as positive as possible and wanted it to work out, but I was also in a sort of denial because like I just wanted it so bad, and he was being realistic and, you know, ripped off the band-aid after like 8 months and was like, baby, it's only going to get harder after this, so like can you just think about it, would this really be realistic? And we decided we had to like step away from it at least until, you know, something else can happen where we could meet again, because it's like I never got to go to Israel, he's not undeported yet, like his ban
Yeah.
is still active. And so it's funny, like this whole one of our things was like always watching Drag Race. And so it's like with this show, it's always been like
Yeah.
this little secret prayer, like maybe he'll see it. Cause it's like, you know, we haven't really been in touch, but it's like, you know, not for a flex or anything. And it's like, not like I mentioned him in the show or anything, but it would mean a lot for me if he saw it, you know?
Aw.
Yeah.
As I will say, and then in terms of anything other than that, it's mostly sex with, for me, predominantly black guys, literally just because, as I always say, I have a fat ass and black guys are into it.
Well,
Definitely.
then.
And it's also like, I was so, as I always say, like some people have the like glorious story of losing their virginity at 15. Not me.
Yeah.
I
I feel like I've
was
lost my virginity like 4 times. Like,
I
like
was
there's the being naked with somebody, then there's someone grabs your dick, then you grab someone's dick, and then there's penetrative.
see, I split mine up into when I first gave when I first like gave head, when's the first time I topped, when's the first time I bottom, because they did not happen at the same
At the
age. It
same
was
time.
no. I wish would have made my life easier. So it was like 21, 22, 23. So like I was
Yes. All the virginity spectrums.
yeah,
Yes.
work. So have you ever suffered from body insecurities?
Oh yes. Yes. I actually did have weight issues until I was like about 16. I was pretty chubby from like 12 years old to 16. And so I was always like very insecure because my brothers were like very fit, like from their whole teen years. So that always got to me also, because it's like I always saw my brothers, they're so fit and I'm not. And then actually when I was like in my sophomore year of high schools, that's when I started to shoplift diet pills actually. And also like midway in my junior year, like not, I don't know if it had anything to do with the diet pills or whatever, but I was taking so many. And then also um I became type 1 diabetic at the same
Oh,
time.
wow.
So it was like, and it was unchecked. So when you're not when your blood sugars are extremely high and not going down,
Yeah.
your body eats its own fat.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I lost like 30 pounds or 25 pounds in like a month or something like that. It was like jarring to everybody from the outside. Everybody was like, Kirby, you like dropped all this weight. What is happening? My mom was asking me if I took diet pills, and I was lying to her because I just didn't want her to find out. But and then we found out I was diabetic, and then he took me through the whole biological breakdown, like why I lost so much weight. And like it was like really really scary. It was like my body was literally eating its own fat, and I wasn't like doing a
Ooh.
correct diet and stuff like that. So when I got diagnosed with diabetes, it like literally everything had to flip so fast, and I had to like be very mindful of my diet. And not in um not in a weird carb counting way, but I did
Yeah.
have to count carbs so that, you know, I could do an according diet. And so yeah, when I became diabetic, it was actually very enlightening, because I never was like a diet minded person, but I did
Yeah.
have to be, just for functionality. And so it did really help me, just because now whenever I do meet someone who is diabetic, if they're type 2 diabetic,
Yeah.
I'm glad I can give them insight. And like I have a really close friend who's a coworker who just became type 2 diabetic, and it was like really kind of like going through a mental like overhaul. And I'm just glad that I can be there for her among the rest of the people that have
Yeah.
no idea what that even means, you know.
Wow.
But yeah, definitely my body issues have, and even with, you know, having to take my insulin also, that was something that worried me, because I have to do it like here on my stomach. So
Yeah.
what that means is like I'll always have scar tissue here. I won't really ever have those like David lines on my stomach, because I have
Ooh.
to. But that got to me when I was younger for a little bit, like in my teens and early 20s, and now it's, you know, not really an issue for me.
Of course. And first of all, that's crazy. I've never heard that before when I've asked this question. So that's like insane. I'm trying to process it. But it's like obviously, like as I always say, being a bigger person, I definitely had them. I had in my mind, like, which was a completely unrealistic weight of what I should weigh. So
Mhm.
I'm 6'3". My vision of what I should weigh was 150 pounds.
No.
And I'm like, and I look at it, I'm like, you literally would be like anorexic if you weighed 150 pounds. Like, there's like
Mhm.
no way that's physically possible, especially because like I'm kind of built like a linebacker. So like, yeah, no.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Girl, no.
yeah. And then it was honestly like right after COVID where I basically started like, obviously I'm like exercising, trying to change my body, all that. But it's like I got to the point where I'm like, I had to say like, fuck it. I honestly, that's when I started like wearing t-shirt dresses and bodysuits and drag. And I'm like, fuck it. It's like
Yeah,
if you don't like my body, you don't got to stare at it. Go look somewhere else.
exactly. You just got to find your own motivation. It's so funny because I feel like COVID had such like it was a different effect for everybody, and for me personally, I felt like it really was a good reset creatively and
Yeah,
physically. Yeah, like I feel like so much of my costume comeuppance came in COVID because I was like I had some money coming in from work, but I had really nowhere to spend it, nowhere to pay rent because I was living at home. So I was
yeah,
like, let me up my costumes, let me do some photo shoots, let me do video shoots, and then when the world opens back up, I can take them live, and that's what's been happening.
work.
Yeah,
So, what's your relationship to drugs and alcohol?
drugs and alcohol. I mean, I am not an avid drinker, really. I drink socially, I guess. I don't really drink alone at home. I like if I do, I might like a sangria sort of thing,
Yeah,
but I'm kind of like that type of drinker, like a flavorful spritzer type.
yeah,
But I smoke hella weed. That's like the only other thing.
work. So, in terms of me, as I say, like alcohol, I'm pretty much a social drinker too. I had like one bad night where, and you know, this is a performer, there are nights where people are just like constantly wanting to buy you drinks. And like,
Yeah.
I had one of those nights and like, I was driving home and I almost got a DUI. Luckily, like, I was able to, like, my dad was able to, like, pick me up. So, like, I didn't
Yeah.
get into any
Evade.
problems. Yeah. In terms of drugs, I will say the only thing I've ever abused. So, okay. I have bone spurs in the heels of both of my feet.
Oh, whoa.
So, like,
Fuck.
before they're better now because like I'm not working a job where I'm on my feet every day. But when I was, before I got a chance to like get health insurance to go to the doctor, I was abusing ibuprofen like crazy.
Oh, wow.
Like I was taking 18, 24 pills a day. Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Um wow. I I feel like maybe I could chime in like okay. Recently I had a couple like nausea things like I had gallbladder surgery I told you
yeah.
before, and that was all fucked up because basically they took my gallbladder out and found out that wasn't even the problem, and that the
Ooh,
problem was my liver. And so this liver issue has like it's not anything crazy, it's not failing or anything, but it's like
yeah,
caused like some nausea every now and then. And usually for nausea, like if I smoke some weed, like it's usually like a quick fix. But with this problem, it has been like since last year when I lived with a roommate, it would be like I would be sitting at the bong smoking six bowls trying to make this nausea go away, and
yeah.
it just wouldn't go. And like I had a little issue a couple days ago where the same thing happened. I was like, oh my God, I literally just smoked six joints and I'm still nauseous. Why the fuck? And it's so like, oh my God, I'm not trying to smoke all my weed either. I'm like just trying to
Yeah.
make this stop. Like, yeah. So yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to turn my camera.
No, no, you're good. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. I say it's crazy what we do when we like just try and stop like any sort of like illness. Like
Yeah.
that's something. So don't do what either Kirby and I did. Definitely don't do what I did because like I only did that for 4 months. Had I gone longer, I probably would have caused liver damage. Like,
Right. Yeah. I know. I'm like, I gotta
yeah.
clean my pipes and everything. Shoot.
So, what are your thoughts on how the LGBTQ community is being treated today?
Oh, well, oh my goodness. Let me go. Okay, sorry. So, at large, I still get this sense of like people treating us as novelties in a sense, not so much politically. I'm kind of happy with like the liberal political agenda that is to seeking to just have us be presented as equal. And I feel like a lot of media
Yeah.
does do a lot of baiting, right? Is doing a lot of baiting right now. Like there's just so much stuff that is so bait, that that is the only thing that kind of bothers me about it, because it still comes back to this notion of like we're a novelty that they're trying to commoditize in a
Yeah.
sense, and that like our rights are some type of commodity or like a hot topic or something like that. But it's like no, like it and I feel like the way conversations happen nowadays, it's hard to have it take its own life in that way. But yeah, just like I can't stand the that any way that makes us a novelty, that like dehumanizes us, because it's like even underneath so much of a lot of this work, there tends to be like somewhat dehumanizing aspects. There is this one reality show I watched with he's the prince of a province in India, and he's gay. His name is Manvendra Singh Gohil, and he was on a show that was in England, that it was about like three princes looking for
Yeah.
love, and he was the only gay one. And this was in like 2012, and just the way that they treated him then is like it's crazy. You can't even, this guy is a prince, but because he's gay, they thought they can treat him like this on camera,
Yeah.
and like say anything this type of way. It was crazy for me to watch that in like present day, because it's like all that stuff is canceled now. Every notion that surrounded the interaction with him, I feel like is utterly cancelable. But I just can't believe that they were able to get away with something so dehumanizing like that then. But like now, with Instagram and all this stuff and everything being a commodity and being like attractive and bait and whatever, it's, it's not, things aren't too different. And especially with like Pride festivities, a lot of, even just the fact that Pride was a rebellion is getting washed away from like people that are just like, oh yay, gay, okay, that flash titties, like. But
Yeah.
what about the work that's going into us surviving?
Right.
Yeah. I guess
And
that was a long answer.
no, you're good. So, like, in terms of that, even some of the language that was used by people back in 2011, 2012, that era, like, to see my, like, greatest example I always go to is the A-List New York, where Austin Armacost was literally talking about a drag queen and used the T word to describe them. It's like,
Yeah. Like what?
it's like, seriously? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
thought, it's like, this is a show that was on Logo, and you're telling me that this was acceptable back then, whereas like now,
Yeah.
now
Mm-hmm.
you get canceled for it. Like, literally, Diego Sands proved that, like, getting canceled for doing the exact
Yeah.
same thing. He was like, I'm just gonna say the word. It's like
Yeah.
no. It's like no. And even to like a bigger point of trans people, the like whole Rose Montoya like controversy where it's like, oh, she did this at the White House. Like that was such a big
Mhm.
deal. I'm like, there are people fucking dying. Like
Yeah.
that's what y'all should be talking about. You don't need to be talking about like this like TikTok video.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, like yeah. It's very it's just frustrating, like the dehumanization more than anything is where I feel like people need to check themselves, because it's like they're, especially with like just everything on our phones, it's like people are going with this notion like, oh, I can do that, and I can do that. It's like, the accessibility, I feel like, is playing tricks on people's minds to make them not want to care and make them take so many things lightly, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So, okay. To my final question, I always say this is the one that always stumps people. So, what's the biggest misconception about you?
Oh, I definitely would probably say, hmm, it might sound funny, but that I'm only a bottom, I guess. Like, I'm pretty hella verse, and it's not a conversation that comes up. It's not something that comes up often, but it's like something that it's readable on people for
Yeah,
them to think that of me, I guess. And it's quite the contrary.
it's because
I mean, bottoming is a verb, it's not a noun. So that.
yeah. It's also it's like okay. You're a little bit feminine, and that's why people think that. It's like let's just automatically assume
Hmm.
somebody's a bottom. It's like, well, gee, how about you just ask them?
Yeah. Seriously. But even with that, like the whole that part of our culture is a funny thing to me. Like, I'll call it like bottom blasting or bottom shaming.
Yeah,
Like, it's like I feel like I was with a guy in college, and I didn't like how he felt like he needed to blast that I bottomed for him in our college class, and for some reason he did, because somebody like egged him on into it, like, oh, because you're the bottom with Kirby. And then he like screamed to everybody, like, actually, he's that. I'm like, okay, what does it fucking matter? Do you think you're controlling the situation now because you said that? Like things like that. I just wonder what makes people think it matters, in such an instance, because it honestly, for me, it doesn't. It's like, if we're fucking, we're fucking, and it's like I
yeah.
don't need to justify this, that, or the other. But for some people, it is something else.
And to that, it's like with the people who do bottom shame, it's like, well, gee, I'm pretty sure you're the one who wants something to fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like you're gonna judge somebody. It's like this is what you want, baby.
Yeah.
You are so afraid of taking something up there that you're gonna put me
Yeah.
in the position.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's a lot in the media too, like in a lot of like Instagram little like it's a lot of those like quick jokes that just like, that you can just like let people let go. And that's the thing where I'm like, but I'm not gonna let it go, because it actually is that important if you're gonna try and shame me for something.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, with that being with that being said, it was great having you on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Wait, what is the biggest misconception people have about you?
I don't, yeah, usually guests not calling me about not getting away with this question. So, certain people will say I'm extremely shady. I'm not. It's like sometimes I'm not. I say I'm not shady. I'm just blunt. Like
Hmm.
it's like if I have a. It's also there are times where like I'll like even doing this. There are times I've written shady questions and I'm like I'll just write that down and I'm like, oh, that was shady. A great example was so I've interviewed Phoenix before, and in the first interview, like one of the last questions I asked him was, because he lives in LA, does he have real friends? And like
Oh my god.
And he said, "Oh my god, the shade." I'm like, ooh yeah.
Maybe just a little umbrella.
But my thing was, especially that first interview, he was the first person I'd ever interviewed in LA. So like I had so many like misconceptions about how people were gonna be in LA,
Hmm.
which you probably know living there. Stuck up,
Oh yeah.
egotistical, only care about following, won't listen to you if you don't have above this. Like
Hmm.
that's what I went in. And once I found out that there are people who aren't like that, and anyone who is outside of LA, there are nice people. There are also a
Yeah.
lot of assholes. It just all depends on who you talk to.
It is, yeah, and a theory that I've started to entertain is that most of the LA unpreferable notions come from transplants.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, totally. It's like the people who are like that. It's like, yeah, that person's probably a cunt in their hometown too. It's like the only difference is they moved to LA and they now surrounded themselves like that fake that. Oh my gosh! Like
Yeah.
totally. I
Hmm.
miss you, girl. Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. It's like
Okay, gotta go
no, no.
back.
It's like to those people, I'm like, keep your distance. It's honestly why I don't have many like drag queen friends because like I have superficial friendships with a lot of drag queens because it's like
Hmm.
I don't trust you one bit. It's like because I hear about the shit you're talking about me when I'm not there.
Exactly. Yes. Hmm. I did the research.
And for me, it's like I always say in terms of like being blunt to my point, it's like this is the way I always look at it. It's like why I'm so blunt and honest with people. It's like, look, I've been suicidal twice. There's no guarantee that tomorrow's gonna be here. So
Mm.
I might as well say what's on my mind now.
Hmm.
And if I live to see tomorrow, I'll deal with the consequences of my horrible decisions then.
Amen.
Right.
Gay men.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Where am I? Outro. Right. I didn't think so. With that being said, this is Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and I hope you've enjoyed.